Hey guys, so this is our second lesson in this unit. This is 2.2, and it's called Combining Like Terms. Remember, if you have any questions, you can pause the video, raise your hand, or come up to my desk and I will help you with whatever you need. Make sure you're checking your unit schedule and that you're on top of all your due date stuff. Also, please make sure that you're writing down everything that I'm writing down on these notes. Everything. There's a reason. Make sure you're listening to this. So if you have the closed captioning on, or if you don't have headphones on, a fog, then make sure that you put them on and listen. Okay, so starting with parts of an expression. Now we've talked about expressions before, but we're going to talk about specifically the parts of an expression. So, variable terms are terms with a variable. Each of these little things right here are called terms, where they're separated by an operator. Those are terms. Variable terms are only the terms with variables. So the variable terms in this expression would be 14x. So 14x. 2x. Now, here's what's important. Whatever's in front of the term goes with the term. So since even though a lot of you see subtraction signs and subtraction signs and negative signs go hand in hand in algebra. So this term right here, 2x, is actually going to be negative 2x. That's really important. Please make sure you're paying attention to that. Now, the next variable term is going to be negative 5x. Whatever's in front of it goes with it. Now, constant terms are the terms without variables. The only constant terms I see in here are 9, 8, and 1. Now, coefficients are the numbers next to a variable. So we have 3 variable terms, which means we should have 3 coefficients. The coefficients are 14, negative 2, and negative 5. So this 14, for example, that's a coefficient. This negative 2, that's a coefficient. So remember, whatever's in front of it goes with it. Whatever's in front of the term goes with it. So let's practice identifying parts of an expression. If you look at number 1. For number 1, they want to know, it says identify the variable terms, constant terms, and coefficients. If you forget, just come back and look up at this little graphic you have up here. Variable terms. What I want you to do, and what I expect to see in your notes, is underlining like terms. And what you want to do is underline them differently. So like if it's almost like color coding, except I'm just underlining. So I'm only going to underline like terms, and if, like up here, for example, I underlined my variable terms once, but then to separate and identify which ones are different, I double underlined all my constant terms since they're similar. So these are like terms, these are like terms. They are not like terms together. Constants are not, you cannot combine constants with variables, and you cannot combine variables with constants. So I have 2 like terms here, both with an A. We've kind of talked about this a little bit before, but let's continue. So the variable terms here are 11A. You're going to separate your answers with a comma, and 4A. The constant terms, there are none, so we're going to leave that blank and put NA, not applicable. The coefficients, remember, are the numbers in front of the terms, in front of the variables. And since we have 2 variable terms, that means we're going to have 2 coefficients. So 11, 4. Make sure that the number of variable terms you have matches the number of coefficients. I want you to circle number 2. I want you to come on up to number 3. Now I've got M, another M here. So variable terms, this first one, negative 12M, it's going to go here. That's a variable term because it's got a variable in it. Remember, whatever's in front of the term goes with the term. Negative 3, that's a constant. There's no variable, so I'm going to put that here. Positive plus 4M, that's a variable, so I'm going to put that here. And then 16, that's a constant. There's no variable. Now coefficients, I've got two variable terms, so I'll have two coefficients, and my two coefficients are negative 12 and 4. Pay attention to your negative subtraction signs. If you lose it, you lose points. Go ahead and circle number 4 and move on down to number 5. See 3, that's a constant because there is no variable. 13, that's also a constant because there's no variable. Minus 5p, p, that's a variable, so that's going to go in here. Remember what's in front of it goes with it, so negative 5p. And then negative, or subtract, or minus 2p. Remember what's in front of it's going to go with it. Now the only thing left is my coefficients. I've got two variable terms, so I'm going to have two coefficients. My two coefficients are negative 5, comma, negative 2. Make sure that your answers look like mine. Make sure you have commas in between. When you do your independent practice problems, I expect them to look just like mine. Independent practice doesn't mean that you get to stop showing work. So please, make sure you're showing the steps that I show when I do the notes. You're going to do the same exact thing in your independent practice. Circle number 6, move on to number 7. We'll look at the first number, 19. There's no variable, so that's a constant. 5n, that's a variable. Remember what's in front of it goes with it. Minus 8, no variable, so it's a constant, so I'm going to put negative 8. Remember what's in front of it goes with it. 14, also a constant. I only have one variable term, so I'm only going to have one coefficient, and my coefficient is negative 5. Just circle number 8. Move on to number 9. So number 9, 8a, that's a variable term, so I'm going to put it in the variable terms box. What I'm doing is I'm marking them off as I go, and I'm just going left to right, one at a time. I expect you to do the same thing. Like I said, when you do your practice problems, your work should look just like mine. There's a reason that I'm showing you this way. So, now, minus 7b, that's got a variable in it, so it's a variable term. Remember what's in front of it goes with it. 1, no variable, that's a constant. Minus 2b, that's a variable term, so minus 2b. And then 3a is also a variable term. So I've got 4 variable terms, so that means I'm going to need 4 coefficients. 8, remember negative 7, negative 2, and 3. Those negatives matter. The coefficients don't include the variables. Please notice that. Do not put variables in this box. Go ahead and circle number 10. So when you do 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, you need to make sure that you're doing it, following the way that I do it. After these notes, you can do however you want. However, for these notes, I want your practice problems your work should look just like mine. If it doesn't look just like mine, I'm going to send you back. There's a reason, and I'm going to have you do it over again because there's a reason I'm showing my work this way, and I expect you to do the same. When we start simplifying expressions, it's going to get a little more difficult, and it's really important that we keep our work organized and we keep track of things. It's not about being perfect, it's about being aware of the fact that I have to show my work because I'm not a computer or a calculator. I make mistakes just like everybody. So it's really important to it just makes things easier, and it actually requires less steps because you don't have to go back and fix things. So go on and flip over to the back page. What I recommend you do is pause the video and do 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, and then move on to the back page to make sure that you're on the right track. Now let's talk about what the whole lesson's about, combining like terms. This part's extremely important, so please make sure that you're following along. You can simplify algebraic expressions by combining like terms. It's in bold for a reason. This means to combine common variable terms and constant terms. Like terms means variable terms, so like 4x, 2x, those are like terms. Constants like 4, 7, 8, those are like terms. Unless they are like terms, you cannot combine them. So for example, I can't combine 4x and 7 because they aren't like terms. Like terms have to have, and this is important, write this down, the same variables and exponents. So for example, if I've got 4xy and 4x, even though they both have x, because they don't have the same variables, they aren't like terms. So these are not like terms. This is important, and you'll get better with practice. Okay, so for example, what I want you to do, and this is going to take 2 steps, so I expect to see at least 2 steps in all of your problems, is I'm going to underline my like terms. So if I've got an x here, an x here, and an x here. My constant terms right here, and right here. So the first step is I'm going to identify my like terms. Identify like terms. Underline them, separate them, do whatever you need to do. And the second step, and this is important, and a lot of you are going to try and skip it, but please don't. There's a reason for it. You're going to rewrite the expression with the like terms together. If you need help, I'm sure Maurice would help you because he knows how to do this. So, with the like terms together. Tyler, I expect to see all this stuff in the margins. I expect to see you doing everything, writing everything down that I'm writing down. Now, so for the example problem, what that second step is going to look like is I'm going to go 14x. When I rewrite, whatever's in front of it goes with it. So that's not a like term. I need to put minus 2x now, minus 5x. Now I'm going to do my constants. Plus 9, plus 8, plus 1. Now this is the most important thing. Don't use your calculator. Do not use your calculator. Unless you feel extremely confident with your ability to do negatives and stuff like that. I don't want you making mistakes on negatives and simple calculations. I want to make sure that you know how to combine like terms and simplify expressions. So in your calculator, you're going to go left to right. So 14 minus 2. You're going to then, step 3, this is important, step 3, we are going to add or subtract the coefficients of the variable terms, of the like variable terms. Then you're going to add the constants. Then you're going to add or subtract whatever you need to do for the constants. Now, these steps won't help you if you don't understand how they work within the problem. And then you're simplifying. So step 4, simplify. Okay, so going back up to our example problem. 14 minus 2 is 12. So 12x. Do not forget that x. Think of x as an item almost. So for example, I've got 14 cookies and I'm subtracting 2 cookies. Right? Let's say x means it's an item of some sort. If you think about it that way, it makes sense. So I'm subtracting 14 from 2. That gives me 12, but I still have cookies, so I need to make sure that x is there. Now I have minus 5x, plus 9, plus 8, plus 1. So 12 minus 5 is 7, so 7x. Now I can add the constants. 9 plus 8 is 17, plus 1 is 18, so plus 18. There are no like terms that I can combine, which means this is in simplest form, and that's your final answer. All right, so everybody look at number 11. I have this like term, I underline it. First step, underline and identify. Those are my like terms that I'm going to rewrite. I don't need to rewrite it because they're already together. I'm going to add the coefficients. 4 plus 7 is 11, so 11x, that's my final answer. Moving on to 13. First step, underline my like terms. Those are my variable terms. I have a constant right here. Second step, I'm going to rewrite my expression with my like terms together. 6c plus 11c plus 1. 6 plus 11 is 17. Don't forget the variable goes with it, 17c. The constant plus 1. I can't combine, remember, I can't combine my constants. I can't add this 1 to these c's. So then I'm going to box it in. Looking at 15. 11m minus 5m. 13 is my constant. I'm going to rewrite it with my like terms together. However, I don't really have to do that because it's already done, right? So 11 minus 5. 11 minus 5 is 6m minus 13. Those aren't like terms. I can't combine them, so that's my final answer. Look at it, number 17. My like terms are here. I've got a 9v, 3v, my constant's there. I'm going to rewrite the expression with my like terms together. 9v minus 3v. Remember, what's in front of the term goes with it. And then minus another v. Remember, we've talked about this a little bit before. When there's nothing in front of a variable, what's really there is a 1. So, for example, if I have x, what that really means is 1x. Okay? So now I'm going to combine my like terms. 9 minus 3 is 6. Minus 1. 6 minus 1 is 5, so 5v plus 7. Moving on to 19. Negative 14w. 10w and 2w are my like terms. The only constant I have is that. I'm going to rewrite the expression with like terms, so together, so negative 14w, remember what's in front of it goes with it, plus 10w, plus 2w, minus 11. Remember, in your practice problems, I need to see the exact same steps. Negative 14 is what you're going to put in your calculator because you have a negative sign. Please pay attention to your negatives. You will get the answer wrong if you do not keep track of your negatives. So negative 14 plus 10 plus 2 gives me negative 2w minus 11. I can't combine those because one's a constant, one's a variable term, so they're not alike. That's my final answer. Looking at 21. That's a constant, that's a variable term, that's a variable term, that's a constant. Second step, I'm going to rewrite for h. Remember what's in front of it goes with it, so since there's a subtraction sign in front of my 8, it's going to be minus 8h plus 10 minus 1. Now I'm just going to go left to right. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Please use your calculator. Plus 10 minus 1, which is 9, so plus 9. Can't combine any more like terms. That's my final answer. Number 23. Underline. Now here's important. We've got two different variable terms here. So I've got x. I'm going to underline the ones with my x's. I'm going to double underline the ones with my 6y's because they aren't, my x terms and my y terms aren't the same, so I can't combine them. Second step, I'm going to rewrite my like terms together. Negative 8x. What's in front of the term goes with it. My other x plus 23x. Minus 2y minus 6y. I'm going to combine the coefficients of my x variables, so negative 8 plus 23 gives me 15, so 15x. Now I can't combine my y's with my x's because they're not the same. They're not like terms, so I'm going to do those separate. Negative 2, remember what goes in your calculator is what's in front of it as well, minus 6 gives me negative 8. So minus 8y, and that's my final answer. Going on to number 25. I'm going to underline my like terms first. I've got m there, m there. It's important that you go through and really check. I've got n's as well, and I've got constants. I'm going to underline those 3 times this time. Now, I'm going to rewrite my expression with my like terms together. 9m. Where's my other m? Right here. So plus m or plus 1m, however you want to write it. Minus, remember what's in front of it goes with it, minus 5n. Minus 2n. Plus 14 minus 7. So I wrote my variable terms together and then my constants together. Now I'm just going to combine them. 9 plus 1, that's 10m. Now, negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. Negative 5 minus 2 is what you're putting in your calculator. Gives me negative 7. You should be practicing this on your calculator to make sure that you're putting everything in right. Minus 7n. And then 14 minus 7 is just 7, so plus 7. I can't combine any of those because they're not like terms. That's my final answer. All right, last problem. I've got two k terms. They're already together. They're the same. I don't have to rewrite anything. Now, because they're fractions, remember, we have to have, when we add or subtract fractions, we need common denominators. The lowest common denominator, the lowest common multiple of these two is 8. So I can leave this one the same, but I'm going to have to change this one. So I'm going to change 11, 4. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. It's going to give me 22 over 8. So when I rewrite my equation, expression, it's going to be 22 over 8k minus 3 over 8k. 22, remember, I'm leaving the denominators the same and I'm only subtracting the numerators. So 22 minus 3 gives me 19 over 8k. 19 over 8k. I cannot simplify that any further. That is my final answer. Remember, your work and your independent practice problem should look exactly like mine. Your steps, you should have the steps. Follow the steps that I gave you. If you have any questions, please raise your hand or come to my desk and I will answer them. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you in a little bit.